invasion began quietly. No fiery skies or thunderous ships, just a subtle shift in the air, an unsettling stillness in the world's hum. By the time the world governments realized what was happening, it was too late. The first wave had landed. The aliens, who called themselves the Varnok, were not grotesque or monstrous. In fact, they were almost elegant. Tall beings of translucent skin, glowing with soft hues of blue and green. They communicated telepathically, operated machinery without touching it, and moved in unison like dancers in a cosmic ballet. To them, humanity was unsophisticated, chaotic, and woefully unequipped to handle what was coming. Their goal wasn't destruction but domination. They didn't want Earth's resources. They wanted Earth itself. The Varnok believed themselves superior in every way. They had studied human psychology, war patterns, communication methods, and even cultural nuances. Their analysts concluded the invasion would last 3 weeks. 4 at most. They were wrong. The first surprise came in the jungles of Brazil. A Varnok patrol vanished without a trace. Their advanced surveillance equipment picked up nothing before the feed went dark. All that remained was a pile of shredded leaves and an unsettling silence. The Varnok thought it was a system glitch, until it happened again and again. First in Brazil, then Vietnam, then the forests of the Pacific Northwest. Then came the deserts. The Varnok scouts began disappearing in vast, empty stretches of sand. One by one, their numbers dwindled and their confidence waned. What was supposed to be a swift operation had turned into a game of shadows. What they didn't know, what they could never have known, was that humans had a weapon far beyond their comprehension. Camouflage. It wasn't just the military's ghillie suits or painted faces. It was the instinct, honed over millennia of evolution, to become part of the environment. It was the hunter waiting still for hours, the guerrilla fighter melting into the trees, the child playing hide and seek in the tall grass. Camouflage was not a tactic for humans, it was a second skin. Major Elena Voss of the U.S. Special Reconnaissance Unit was the first to discover the Varnok's visual limitations. In a recon mission outside what used to be Denver, she and her team realized the aliens didn't just rely on sight, they relied on pattern recognition. They were exceptional at detecting movement and recognizing patterns that didn't belong. But Elena noticed that when her team wore natural textures, leaves, mud, branches, the aliens often passed by them entirely. She exploited that. Within days, a new command was issued. Drop all tech, wear the earth, and become ghosts. Human soldiers began shedding their uniforms, trading them for local foliage. They stopped using radios, relying on hand signals and the silent language of the eyes. They stopped moving in groups. They scattered. They became whispers in the wind. In Africa, tribes that had long hunted by blending into the savannas led guerrilla operations, ambushing patrols and disappearing before reinforcements arrived. In Mongolia, nomads used sandstorms to cover their assaults, draping themselves in the very dunes that the Varnok tried to control. In Alaska, hunters smeared themselves in fish guts and hid beneath the ice, emerging only when the moment was right. The Varnok began to panic. They tried countermeasures, infrared scans, ground-penetrating radar, drone clouds, but nothing worked. Humans were unpredictable. In London, someone disguised as a trash heap had taken out an entire command unit. In Tokyo, civilians painted themselves as walls and attacked with kitchen knives. In Sydney, a girl covered herself in seaweed and drifted to a battleship, sinking it with explosives attached to her chest. The Varnok didn't understand. To them, camouflage was deception. To humans, it was survival. In their homeworld, the Varnok had eliminated chaos. There was order in everything, no unpredictability, no improvisation. They did not know what it meant to act out of desperation, to be clever because there was no other choice. They had never fought an enemy that used the environment not as a battleground but as a weapon. The shift in the war was subtle but unstoppable. The Varnock began pulling back, fortifying their command centers, limiting patrols. That's when the true masters of camouflage arrived, the ones who didn't fight wars in uniforms or command units. They were hunters, trackers, artists, survivalists. One such man, known only as Hawk, lived in the Appalachian Mountains. He hadn't spoken to another soul in 10 years. But when the Varnock came, he knew what had to be done. Dressed in moss and bark, he took down invaders one by one. His legend spread through resistance channels. Hawk eats glass, some said. He talks to the wind, said others. No one really knew, but the Varnock feared the forests. Elsewhere, a woman named Rosa used her background as a makeup artist to train rebels in urban camouflage. Her students became mannequins, fire hydrants, statues in plazas. They moved only when needed and only to kill. Children played a role too. They crawled through vents dressed as shadows and sabotaged alien tech with sticks and wires. They learned to mimic sounds, create distractions, and vanish into the background like ghosts. Soon, Earth was a haunted house for the Varnock. Every corner whispered of danger. Every shadow was a threat. They found themselves afraid to leave their ships, their bases, even their armored suits. But the humans weren't stopping. The final blow came in the snowy wastelands of Siberia. The Varnock had set up their central processing hub deep underground, surrounded by heat sensors, drones, and weaponized barriers. No life form could enter unnoticed, so the humans sent in the dead. Or so it seemed. Corpses wrapped in animal hides, filled with heat-diffusing gel, were dragged by sled dogs trained to run blind through the blizzards. The bodies were not corpses. They were soldiers, alive and holding their breath, armed with knives and explosives. The attack was swift, precise, devastating. When the Varnock Central Hub exploded, it sent a shockwave across their entire network. For the first time, Earth saw alien ships retreat, their lights blinking in what could only be fear. Within weeks, the invasion collapsed. A council of surviving Varnock generals met aboard a damaged warship hidden in Earth's orbit. They spoke without speaking, their minds intertwined in a network of thought. "We underestimated them," one said. "They are not advanced. They are something else entirely. They are unpredictable. They become their environment. They become the threat. They are the weapon." And so, the Varnock left, not in rage but in awe. They had not been defeated by superior weapons or technology. They had been undone by the oldest trick in the book: hide in plain sight. Years later, Earth rebuilt. Cities rose from ashes, the sky cleared of strange clouds, and humanity carried on, stronger and more united than before. Camouflage, once just a military tactic, became a symbol. Statues of fighters dressed in leaves and branches stood in every major city. Art installations celebrated the hidden ones, the nameless warriors who never sought glory, only victory. And in the shadows of a deep forest, a man named Hawk lit a fire beneath a canopy of stars. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. But as the flames flickered, he vanished into the trees, unseen and unforgettable. Because the aliens were not ready for human camouflage tactics. And they never would be.